Hey guys, we're going to take a quick tour into 9fail Part 1 here. Now, what 9fail is 9fail is a Plan 9 virtual machine running the 9front Plan 9 subdistribution. So, access is dictated on the uptime of the virtual machine server, which is not the primary access server for Tech Club at time of recording. Now, the virtual machine server is at this time kept inside the tech office actually, and its final resting place is unknown, but it hosts several rather useful virtual machines and generally interesting virtual machines. So let's take a look here. So the first thing you're going to want is you're going to need a terminal. And if you're on OS X, then just type in terminal into Spotlight and open it up. If you are on OS X, you will need to have either Xquartz or X11 installed. I recommend Xquartz. This is documented elsewhere in 9SVI and SVI in general. So if you don't already have the SVI script installed, you will log in using your username and password for the main access SVI server, which is the WordPress host. It is running Ubuntu Linux, and the primary way of accessing anything on it or through it is using SSH. So since we'll be forwarding graphics in this case, we're going to use the capital X argument, and if we want a nice speed boost, we'll use C as well, capital C. This gives us compression, and X gives us X11 forwarding. X11 is the graphics server that Linux uses, and if we use capital X, we can forward a graphical program from the server to our desktop. This on OS X would normally open in Xquartz or X11. So then we need to type in a username. This is just the username I'm going to be using. You will probably have one assigned to you or created for you. If you do not have one, contact someone at a meeting and they can work it out. So this is going to be what it looks like. Username at svi.com, just like you would for an email. And it would normally prompt you for a password. I have mine set up so that I don't need to type my password on this computer. So now let's get started. Now there is a script already installed by default called 9fail that you can type in. 9fail itself is a virtual machine, so if we want to see if it's up, you can ping 9fail, and as you can see its IP is 1.31. So then if we want to connect, the script is actually just this. Draw term is a program for remotely accessing Plan 9 from Linux. So we just type in 9fail, and by default it defaults to the Unisnake user. Now Unisnake is the generic account for all things Tech Club, and in this case Unisnake uses the standard password and all that good stuff. And if you don't have the password, just ask for it from me or from Mr. Cunningham, or just ask around in a meeting. I'd put it in the video, but that would be bad practice. So let's log in, and you'll be greeted with this. Now at first glance this might seem a bit cryptic, but what we have here is the Plan 9 desktop, fully remote. And how we're going to be using it is best done through either a 3-button mouse, or if you want to install Better Touch Tool on OS X, you can do it with the touchpad. Just bind a 3-finger tap or otherwise to be middle mouse button. For this demonstration I'll be using a mouse, but if you want to use a touchpad you are more than free to. So there are 3 buttons that are in use here. There's the primary first button, and this is left mouse button on most standard mice. And if you're looking for the next important button, which is the middle mouse button, which brings up a menu here, That is either the scroll wheel on a mouse, or they might have a button behind the scroll wheel like mine does. But that's how you get to the second menu. Now, these should look fairly familiar. We have cut. That does exactly what you think it should do. So if we do ls, and just do ls, we can highlight this, cut, it's gone. Now, right underneath it is paste, and it does exactly what you think it does. It pastes. So if we then look at the third one, which is snarf, snarf is copy, more or less. So if I do this, go here, snarf, and then boom. Now, Plum is a bit different. I won't go in depth on Plum. What Plum does is it allows you to send data between processes. At least that's my understanding of it. I'm not 100% on that. But don't worry about it for now. If you want to know more, I believe, yeah, you can do the, by the way, a lot of basic commands that are standard on Linux or Unix are here, like man. And the first man section is usually a basic explanation of the program. So if I do man1 plum, I mean, it'll give you a basic idea what plum is, send message to the plumber, da 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 da. But I won't go in depth on that. By the way, for scrolling, you can use your mouse scroll wheel or two-finger scroll, or you can use the arrow keys. I personally am in the habit of using the arrow keys, but the mouse wheel is your friend. So let's take a look to see what we have here. So we type ls, we have some basic files and whatnot here. For a brief description of what's here, TMP, temporary files, that was discussed at a tech club meeting the other day, why that exists. Stuff, nothing in there, it's just a blank directory. Spell, that's just a test file that was made by someone, probably just left there. It can probably be moved somewhere else. Programming, and C, we have one C file in there, not entirely sure why that's there. Linux EMU, a Linux EMU is a program on Plan 9 that lets you emulate Linux. It only works on 32-bit Plan 9, which is what the VM is running. Lib is kind of special. Lib has some personal files for the user. If we look at lib/profile, this is run when you log in, and it sets up some basic variables, sets up your environment. Ooh. And so it says the font, and then if you're running from a terminal, which you won't be, it does this. If you run from CPU, which is what we're doing right now, it's a remote connection, it does all this stuff. I won't go into depth what all this is, and here's the one that starts the graphical environment. Since everything in the Plan 9 terminal is text, I can theoretically go here and say highlight this, which is from the profile, which to read it, mind you, I just typed cat. Just did that. If I want to change my prompt, I could theoretically at some point highlight this. Oop. And whoa, suddenly my prompt has changed. But I don't really want that, so we can just change it back. But yeah, everything is here. I could come here and I could here, cut, rather than snarf, come down here, paste, boom. So a question that might be on your mind is then what does the right click menu do? Right click is for the window manager. The middle mouse one is kind of just general utilities, and then the right one is, here we see new. This allows us to draw a new terminal, and we just click on a point and drag, and if it's too small it'll just remove it, so you probably have to give it a bit of size, but it can get pretty small. Yeah. Resize. Normally to resize, if you just hover over the corner, primary mouse, aka left mouse click, will allow you to drag and resize the windows. Middle mouse will do the same thing, and then right mouse will let you move. So this button is basically redundant, but it gives you a menu option for it. So then I can click on a menu, on a window, and I press right click again, and it'll let me resize it. Move, same as right click on the border of a window. You just have to hold down the right mouse button. Delete, deletes a window, so if I make a new window, delete it, it's gone. This is also achieved by hitting Control D, just like it would in Linux. Control C isn't in effect here. If you want to kill a process that's running, so if I, for example, want to run the top script, give it a second, it'll start running out processes and whatnot. If I want to end this, I can't hit Control C. See, it just prints out a character. I would hit delete, which on the Mac keyboard would be function delete, because this is the actual keyboard delete, and then Control D ends the terminal, and they'll just close it. So other things, we have hide. Hide does exactly what you think it should do. So we start it with right click, and then we right click somewhere, and then it appears in the right click menu, and we just click there, and boom, it comes back. So if I make a really big window here, that, hide, boom, it's gone. And I just go back to it and it'll show up. Easy peasy. So now let's explore the windows themselves. So I mentioned everything is text. Other things, there's a certain scroll bar style that Plan 9 uses, where if I click high up here, if I do a left click, it'll move it up, but it moves it very incrementally and slowly. If I move farther down here, it'll move it farther. Same thing with right click. Middle click jumps to that place. Right click moves down. If I want to scroll quickly, I can come here. If I want to scroll precisely, I can come up here. That way I don't have to use the mouse or arrow keys, and it just gives you another medium and mode to do everything in. This window over here is tracking statistics. E is Ethernet, CPU, load, overall, memory usage, etc., etc. If you want the full readout, I'll pull up a separate terminal for this. You don't have to pull up a separate terminal for each new project. I will explain why I do that in a bit, but out of habit mostly, and cleanliness, and I have enough space on my screen to do that. So I decided to type like man, say it's stats. Yep. And this will tell me what's going on here. And you see it gives us a decent readout. By the way, man command, it is your friend. If you don't know how something works, what you should be doing is reading the man page for it or the relevant paper for it, and I'll go over those in a second. So stats, to say graphs of system activity, options, and then machine, and then this is the general explanation. So we can see L is load, M is memory, I is interrupts per second, which we have done. S is syscalls, number of syscalls per second, that's stuff going to the kernel. C is context switches per second. E is Ethernet, and that's packets sent and received per second. So, yeah. Now I'll close this. Now in Plan 9 there's an idea called namespaces. And what that means is, if we look at the file system in general, so slash is the very top directory, which actually there are two look commands. There's ls and lc. I should actually be referring to lc more because it's generally nicer. So lc, list and columns. We see this is the root directory. We see 386, all da 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 da, whole bunch of stuff. Your home folder isn't in /home anymore. It's in /usr. Among other things that you don't know where they are anymore. At any point, we can change a process's perspective on this. And since the terminal window is a process, we can change its perspective. Now, let's just look at where we're going right now. Just as an example, there's a command called bind. And what bind does is it allows us to tie together different files and folders. So let's go into bin in our home folder. So we're in USR, Unisnake bin. Let's look in here. Inside bin there is 386, AMD 64, ARM, MIPS, Power, RC. These four, well, actually these five, excuse me, are for various architectures. If we run du-a, du-a lists all files and all subdirectories. We'll see the breakdown of what's in where. There's nothing in ARM, nothing in PowerPC, nothing in AMD 64. There's some stuff in 386. There's nothing in MIPS, and there's a few scripts in RC. RC is the shell. I don't think the shell is even a variable in this case, and there's nothing else to use. There are some supplementary programs to get a more Unix-like environment in Plan 9, and they are in /bin/ape. And so theoretically, see there's an sh. We can do like ape/sh, and then it's looks a bit more Linuxy and it'll act a bit more Linuxy. But so we're in here, and so if we go into RC, these are the scripts that are in here: SVI binder, ms2pdf, Linux, help, and these are some scripts that I've put in here for you guys. So what we should be doing now is let's think for a moment. We can adjust the file system perspective. So let's take the two folders that have stuff in them, 386 and RC, and let's extend them. Now this has no practical application, but it provides a nice demonstration. So if we do man1 bind, this will give us the primary man page for bind on usage and context. And so the option in question here is A. Both files must be directories. Add the new directory to the end of the union directory represented by the old file. So the context is here, new, old. That's the syntax. So we're going to use bind-a, where it combine the 386 directory on top of this one. And lo and behold, we can see the 386 files are seamlessly integrated, and we're still here. If we go up and we go into the 386 directory, that stuff is still there. So if we go back to RC, still bound here. If we want to get rid of this, we can do unmount this, and it gets rid of the binding on top. And if we go in here, we'll see there's still stuff there. Just to note, you might see me auto-predicting things. Tab prediction isn't here. Tabs will actually put in tabs. Control F allows you to predict. Otherwise, most shortcuts, there are a few that are standard. If we do this, Control A brings us to the front, Control E brings us to the end. Control F will actually give us prediction if we're not quite there on where it can predict. So I type in a 3 and Control F and it'll predict. Control D obviously closes the terminal by getting it into file signal. And then delete is kill, and if we press escape, escape enters a special mode. Oh, you see it turns blue. The escape mode is actually the hold mode, and this means that nothing will be executed. If we press enter, nothing will be executed. When we press escape, it will be. well, yeah, escape to end it. What this lets us do is this lets us build scripts and whatnot, and lets us freely edit text without worries of interference, we could say. So I could come here, and this is a vast simplification. So we know this folder exists, so let's come up here, let's get this, and then, well, we forgot a slash. I mean, obviously we could just type a slash, but I mean, why not? And I want the next command to be -a after that, and we press escape, and boom, does stuff. But yeah, so CD will take you back to your home directory. And we can kind of poke around from here. There are some programming languages supported on here. We don't have too many. There's more that I could put on here. I just haven't gotten around to it, but as very basic. This is a very basic, very mostly unmodified 9-front system. So if we come back to our main window, let's expand this a bit. We have Go. We do have that. C is accessible through either ape/cc, which will give you a more Unix-like system, which in that case you would use stdio and whatnot. If you want the true Plan9C experience, we have the compiler you'll be using is 8C, which if we do man1 8C, we'll see, well, examples at the end there. It's a standard man page. It's kind of long, but here are all the different compilers, and it tells you which ones go where. There are documents for this scattered about. There's ones that are available on 9.svi. If you want an example of a program, I'm pretty sure buffio.c. Yep, this is a program that I don't know, this doesn't actually do anything. I don't know who made this or what. I don't know how this ended up in here. This is incredibly incomplete and doesn't even look right on any scale. So maybe somebody was trying to make something and didn't tell me. But yeah, this is a bit more what Plan9C looks like. U.H, libc.h. There's no stdio or stdlib here. The formatting's a bit different. There is a document on style. So here, there's a document on the actual style of Plan9 somewhere else. This is an HTML copy of the C programming in Plan9 paper. And in general, if there's a paper for something, it is held either on doc.cat-v.org or is found in //doc. The other important /sys directory that you might want to know is src, that's source. Source has the source code for the OS, which is really nice to read through sometimes, but /sys-doc has a whole bunch of papers and whatnot in it. And what you'll find in here is like a paper on the assembler, which if you want to try the assembler, I mean, be my guest. Excuse me. There's Plan9 papers and all sorts of things tucked away in here. All of them are worth a read. They're not terribly long in general, but they're very, very informative. The style one is called Pike style, which doesn't look like it's in here. I thought it was, but it might just be on my personal one, and I might be crazy. Regardless, it can be found on doc-cat-v.org. But yeah, we'll point that out at another time. Plan9 is a very specific style that they want, and you can poke around in /sys/source and see what you can find. So let's delete that window. Alright, so now to wrap this up, some basic tools you should know, or commands I suppose, ls, du, cd, lc, cat, echo, and all the basic rules apply here. Some extra ones. Acme is one of the editors that Plant9 has. Sam is the other one, but those can be covered in a different video. For now, you explore, have fun,